Hi, Founder fans. Jason here, and today's founder is David Cobb, an aide-de-camp to General George Washington who has a really fun meal along the way. He's actually a future lieutenant governor of Massachusetts as well, so let's get into it. David Cobb, as I said, was from Massachusetts. He was a physician, and as such, when the Revolutionary War broke out, he did what many patriot physicians did, and he joined the fight as a surgeon, hoping to heal, and in actuality, healing many wounded soldiers along the way. Now, after 2 years of this, he's actually recognized as such an important part of the Continental Army that he is chosen as a lieutenant colonel. Though on his way to assume command, he stops off to, start a hospital for soldiers with smallpox real quick. No big deal. He continues on and makes a name for himself fighting in the war, to the point where in June of 1781, General George Washington brings David Cobb on as an aide-de-camp, and he works directly with Washington and the rest of Washington's military family, as they were known, through the Battle of Yorktown. Now, after the victory of Yorktown, George Washington said, I'm right around the corner from my house, and I've only been home once or twice over the last 8 years of war, so I'm going to stop home for a victory dinner. And David Cobb is one of the handful of people who gets to join George Washington on his triumphant return home after capturing the British Army and having a celebratory dinner at Mount Vernon. As the war concludes, Cobb is given a brevet promotion to brigadier general, and then he returns to Massachusetts, where he's chosen as a major general in the state militia, plus he becomes a county judge. Now, over the ensuing years, he would receive many promotions in the judicial system, but he would also be elected to the Assembly of the state of Massachusetts. He would spend 4 years as the Assembly Speaker, and this is during the time that the Constitution was being ratified. Again, at the time, Massachusetts was one of the most powerful and important states in the Union, and as such, David, with his position leading the Assembly, was a really important member of the young nation. Eventually, after about several years there, he is elected to the House of Representatives in the federal government. Now, he's only there for 2 years, and this is because he's the representative of the at-large district. So elections were done very different back then. Massachusetts, every state did its own thing, essentially choosing representatives. Massachusetts had local districts and an at-large district, which basically meant if you were a voter, you would vote for one person in your district, and then you had a second vote for the at-large representative. David Cobb was chosen as the at-large representative, which means he wasn't just voted by people in his community, he won votes from the entire state. And he's the only person to ever do so, because they almost immediately, in the next election cycle, got rid of this idea because it's a little silly, as you can tell. Cobb returns to Massachusetts, but he wasn't done being important to the state. First, he ends up moving to what we now consider Maine, though at the time was still Massachusetts, and they elect him, his constituents there, send him to the Massachusetts State Senate. He ends up being president of the Massachusetts Senate for 4 years during the Washington administration. Again, a really important role, not just in the state, but nationally, because of Massachusetts' predominance at this time, especially with the Federalist Party still in power. Cobb then essentially retires into the position of Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts, the second most important position in the state. He holds this for 1 term and then returns to his new home in Maine, of course, then Massachusetts, where he continues his life serving his country as a local county judge. So that is the story of David Cobb, one of the most underappreciated members of both George Washington's aides-de-camp and his family, and the state of Massachusetts in general. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do me a favor and hit like. And if you're new here, subscribe. Put out videos about the American Revolution all week long. And I'll be back with another founder for you tomorrow.